Horror Lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at Body Bags. It is wrapping up another month and another theme week, and this one compliments Sam, our Thursday reviewer. The remake, our picks. Not sure how this week is going to fall in terms of are these the films that we're going to get behind and say they are absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, what we consider to be the greatest remake ever, or is our approach going to be slightly different? I have a feeling my approach is going to be a little different. I'm not gonna hold this up, and I'm not gonna call it the greatest remake ever. But my opinion of it is, it's always been favorable. It's always been good. I've always considered it in the upper heap of remakes. I think how far up in that upper heap, that's evolving. You know, you listen to Tom in his interview, and this is a beautiful Umbrella edition. And maybe there may be a better one out there, but I really, sorry for the glare. See, can't seem to escape it. Great, Tom Savini's commentary on this thing. Slew of extras there. The interview with Tom is awesome. You got Tom Savini in his directorial debut in here. You got George writing up the script, and what really pushes, and this is a reason, motivation that we can sympathize with. We all know the story of Night of the Living Dead and copyrights and how it didn't make sense. This was pushed as a means of reclaiming copyright status, but money into the pockets of those who had a hand in the original 68, who really did lose out on just because of stupidity, right? Plus, I'm pretty sure it was in here. This is issue number 97, October issue of Fangoria, which you can read if you don't have the hard copy. You can read the Fangoria has their archive that is opening up, and you can get in there to the digital archive, and you can pull it up pretty easy and read it. It's great what they're doing. Really allows you to just tap in and read a lot of stuff that if you don't have the magazine in your collection or don't have any, you can enjoy it. They don't have all of them in there, but it's an evolving thing, right? But apparently, according to the author of this article, I'm pretty sure, was it Russo that made this point? Apparently there was another company out of Texas, maybe, that word somehow, they had just got off one lawsuit. I think it was for the unauthorized version of the color version. Then just as they get out of that suit, having won, then, you know, the word comes that there's a company, I think in Texas, that was looking at remaking the film because, you know, the copyright's still up in the air and really anyone can do anything they want. And so, you know, as a means of material, you know, monetary reasons, really it became a race to save the film, and it's just save it without it falling into other hands, not knowing how that remake was going to be made or whatever. And this one isn't without its flaws. It isn't without its imperfections, its problems, and a lot that Tom Savini, man, until recent, Tom Savini did not, he wasn't too fond of this film. In fact, I think he calls it the one of the worst nightmares of my life. Of course, he was in the middle of a divorce as well, which was really having a bad effect. And this movie really could have been a escape had he gotten a lot of his way, and he did not. But the race to get a remake in order to bring some money back in for all that was lost, but also to keep anyone else from ever remaking this material, keep it in the hands that it belongs, right? And through that, resalvage the copyright and make it impossible for people to really hijack this thing. And so, you know, you can understand and appreciate these reasons, these motivations, and you can even appreciate it even more listening to Tom and just the, you know, right from the beginning, you know, he talks about how, you know, George, you know, wrote the script, but while filming started, George was down in Florida working on the dark half, writing up the script down there, and so Tom was pretty much left on his own to fend off the producers at every step who were looking to cut things down, take things away. Of course, he had the oncoming war with the MPAA over just how gory, which, you know, just, there were so many aspects. He said, right out from the very beginning, before George had left, George got a view of the wall of storyboards that Tom had created, which he just could not wait to jump into this thing and just start doing this. And George said something to the effect of, great, you got 6 weeks of storyboards up there, and you got 4 weeks to shoot this movie, in effect, is what he said. And Tom's like, what are you talking about? How do you know how filming is going to go? And right from the beginning, you listen to Tom and you get this sense that, early agitation actually came between him and George, or at least some level of frustration. Now, a lot of that would come from the producers once George left and couldn't be that barrier, couldn't be his advocate, right, for him, much like perhaps Spielberg was for Toby on Poltergeist. Tom was pretty much, in a sense, left out to dry, and he kind of takes you through all of these pains, these tribulations and whatnot, and you just, this sense of appreciation for this film just grows. And the cast, I mean, how can you not love the cast? Tony Todd, and you hear the story of how he came in and auditioned. It's just amazing. Patricia Tallman as Barbara. I mean, Bill Moseley, man, as Johnny. Come on. And Otis there from Henry Portrait of the Serial Killer, Tommy Towles. I not like that, man. And they all brought it, man. They all brought it. Even the original Johnny has a cameo in here towards the end, which is great. So the cast really brings it. The effects team, man, that worked on this really brought it. And the state-of-the-art special effects, and the zombies look, pretty freaking awesome in this movie. And so, you've got to take all of that in, and you start to reappraise how you look at this. And also, too, let me tell you, there are 2 Easter eggs in here that are pretty interesting. Only one, though, is mentioned by Tom in his commentary, and that is, as Barbara first walks up the steps to the house, she sees the placard or whatever for the name of the family is M. Celeste. Well, the Mary Celeste, the infamous ship found lost at sea, wanted to be a metaphor of sorts, I think, for the house that Barbara was about to step into, which I thought was interesting. But later on in the film, there is a scene where I think right before Tommy Towles is about to go up into the attic, and that needs to be talked about just for a second, is just some of the minor changes between the original and the 90s, which would have been much more traumatic had Tom had his way. Cooper, Mr. Cooper, was, as he was about to go up, there's a picture on the wall of, it's the USS Eldridge, which is, I think it's an hour and 10 minutes, 30 seconds in, towards the end there. Anyways, the USS Eldridge was a ship that was at the center of the Philadelphia experiment. And so there's a suggestion here, perhaps, that we might have a paranormal or other dimensional zombie apocalypse event, kind of loosely connected with the Philadelphia experiment. That's it's interesting to think about. I mean, it does kind of make you look at this a little differently. But funny, you got that ship on the wall, but then you got the Mary Celeste, as well as in terms of the family who owns that house that they go into. And so, it really is. It is interesting when you read and you really delve in and you listen to Tom. And that interview on this edition is something else, man. And he gets into a lot of things that he just wanted to do. There's one scene in particular that involved a gunshot. You got to hear him explain it, but it was like his huge tribute to Dario Argento. He said it would have been like that, the opera shot with the round. Spectacular. And you just, and all his frustrations, and then, dealing with the producers that were cutting things left and right every day, seemingly they were cutting stuff. And then you've got the divorce that he's going through, and just everything else. And you can't help but start to get frustrated yourself listening to him, thinking about what this movie, right from the beginning, the whole intro being black and white, but as you approach the Celeste house, it slowly edges into color. So you kind of go from this black and white world into, as a tribute to the 68 film, but a studio wouldn't go for it. there's so many things like this that get piled up. The end confrontation, there's a connection between the at their mother's grave, seeing her picture on the tombstone and seeing a zombie later on that was supposed to represent a sort of a psychological event for Barbara. You know, that thing had to get scrapped, mainly because that was an accident, though. Apparently that happened. That could have been really serious, and thank God it wasn't. But just so many things, you know, either it was producers or just things had to get changed throughout. You kind of get the sense, man, you just get frustrated. But then you get to the end of the commentary or the interview, and, you know, Tom's like, well, you know, truth be known, when George finally shows up at the end of the process to help wrap things up in quick due order, because they weren't working with a lot of time left in the end. He says, I did realize at that point that the thing about having, you know, upteen weeks of storyboards and being able to look at that in a quick flash of a moment and see, oh yeah, well, you only got 4 weeks to film, so a lot of that's going, sorry. And that is a tribute to George A. Romero and his eye, his ability to look at storyboards and just right there tell you, you can't do this. Had he had a freer hand, had George been on set, I really do think maybe if there would have been more compromise and George could have really somehow fended off. Of course, you know, Columbia Pictures is involved in distribution, so, you know, you got a little more at stake here in terms of what you're going to be allowed to do and not be allowed to do. But when you bring Tom Savini on as director, and you got George A. Romero, and this is a dead film, you know, it's like Tom says in his, I think it's the commentary, or maybe it's the interview, he says he should have just gone without saying. I mean, you know what you're gonna get. It's kind of like, you know, well, George would know, right? George would know when he should have learned his lesson from Tom's frustrations in going back to the big studio for Land. And although Land is a fun movie and its marketing was great, and it was great to see it in a theater with posters and everything, it was so great. It's probably not the film we would have got had he just did it in Pittsburgh, right? So anyways, all that to say is this movie has quickly leapt up into the upper echelon of what I think, and I think it deserves reassessment. If you're one of those people that just weren't too up on it, or maybe you were, but it's been a while since you checked it out, if there's any way you get your hands on this, and like I said, you know, Fangoria's made it easy to tap into the archive of a lot of these. And again, that's number 97. The article is great, a great read, and you just kind of get the sense, right, of studio interference, producers, MPAA, and you just listen to his imagination and you know, he didn't get a job after this. This really could have been a great moment for him, where he goes from this into a multitude of other projects. Now, I will say this. There is a project that's out there that he is pushing hard, Death Island. The idea has been around for a while, but apparently it seems like it's picked up a little pace. And so we can just, voodoo, priests, island zombies. I know this is a project he'd really love to do. And Nightmare City, which he was attached to for the longest time, you could see it on IMDb, is no longer even there to be seen anymore. So that's been, we knew that was dead a long time ago. How great would that have been? A remake of Nightmare City. So anyways, all that to say is it's remake week. Remakes, from my point, this is definitely one that needs to be reassessed and placed up there at least in the upper heap of remakes. Might not be as good as the Cronenberg's The Fly, or you know, I don't know. It's fun though. It is great, and not without its subtle changes, especially with the character of Barbara. Right, in the end, is a little changed up just a little bit, right? So anyways, the Umbrella release, great release. Check it out. And this is it. October is almost upon us. Halloween month, baby. All right. We always end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.